Pocketpair, the studio behind Palworld, just revealed their hiring practice, and apparently it is breaking the internet because it is revolutionary. But is it really? Should it be? We recently found out that their CEO, Takuro Mizobe, asks game designer candidates to submit screenshots of their Steam playtime history. If you don't play games on Steam, you won't make it past the resume screening. During interviews, they grill you about your most played games, analyze gameplay mechanics, and explain design choices. Their communications manager, Bucky, even confirmed it, saying, "When I first joined, I was grilled if I knew games like Slay the Spire. Pocketpair is a company that truly is built by gamers, and our CEO is very adamant to keep it that way." The internet's calling this revolutionary, a breath of fresh air. But why is this revolutionary? Shouldn't hiring people who actually play games to make games be the absolute bare minimum? I mean, do you have to be like a hard gamer that's all you do and you've done it since you were in diapers? No. But you should like it. You should do it. You should understand the medium. So let's talk about why I think this is being considered groundbreaking, because I think that's going to tell us everything that's wrong with AAA game development. We are at a point where hiring people who actually play games to make games is newsworthy, and that's really sad. Imagine if a film studio made headlines for hiring directors who watch movies, or a restaurant that hire chefs who eat food. Like, that's a baseline, right? Like, that's assumed. But in gaming, apparently it's innovation. David Braben, founder of Frontier Development, said, "Would you expect someone making films to not have any love or appreciation of films? It would be barmy." Yet here we are. Somewhere along the line, major studios started prioritizing MBA graduates over people with gaming knowledge. They hired based on business credentials and buzzwords instead of for passion in the medium. And they filled their ranks with people who see games as quarterly earnings optimization, not experiences to be crafted and loved. And the results speak for themselves. I mean, we could talk about Concord. Concord's been talked to death. It's a perfect example. I mean, every gamer who saw the reveal of Concord knew it would flop. And after the shutdown, developers even admitted on a podcast they did a bad job communicating what their goal was, and learned there's something worse than making a bad game, and that's making an uncool one. Apparently, nobody in the room understood the target audience. They built a technically competent game that perfectly realized their vision, but their vision was completely disconnected from what gamers actually want. The team acknowledged red flags during development, but there was an incredibly strong sense that Concord just couldn't fail due to the time and resources pumped into it and toxic positivity. Ultimately, that's just corporate talking and thinking like, we spent too much money for it to fail, instead of we need to make something people want to play. Like, you can't just throw money at something and expect it to succeed. Sadly, when the game inevitably failed, the developers got laid off. The studio got shut down, even though the executives who greenlit that disaster kept their jobs. Neil Barden from Stained Glass Games said, "I've always found the most useful people are fanatical gamers who can instantly look at a game and say, you need to look at so-and-so. They may be talking about a game made 5 to 10 years ago, but it did something particularly well." The institutional knowledge from hiring gamers is invaluable. When your team knows games, you avoid reinventing the wheel. You know it's been tried, what worked, what didn't. David Barben again said, "It is vital for developers to have a thorough familiarity with games. Otherwise, you will produce games by numbers," and I think there's some of that around. Safe sequels, trend chasing, battle passes designed by people who understand monetization but not player engagement. Yeah, we've got a lot of that. But compare that to Pocketpair asking about Slay the Spire. that indie deck builder roguelike became one of the most influential games of the past decade, spawning an entire subgenre. So if you're interviewing for game design and don't know Slay the Spire, you're not paying attention to the indie scene, which is where Pocketpair is. So you're also probably not studying what makes games work. You're probably not playing games for fun, learning, or inspiration. You know, maybe the things you would do to be good at the job you're trying to apply for. So if you're not doing that, how can you design games that resonate with people who do? You might be technically proficient on paper because you have some certifications or degree or training, but how do you do that without actually knowing games or playing games? Like, it's so weird to me. To be fair though, not every single person, like I said, needs to be a hardcore gamer. Like, a network engineer doesn't need 500 hours in Elden Ring to optimize servers. A graphics programmer doesn't need to speedrun Dark Souls to improve frame rates. But as one veteran explained, the ones who don't play are usually further removed from gameplay aspects. They're focusing on technical challenges, not making interactable elements for players. Creative positions, game designers, narrative designers, level designers, these people need to understand games at a fundamental level. They need to know what feels good, what's been done, what players expect, what might surprise them, and the only way to develop that level of intuition is to play games. Different genres, different eras, different design philosophies, do something. And this problem of not hiring people that like video games appears to be almost exclusively a AAA problem. Indies don't have this because they can't afford to. You're a small team with a limited budget, so every hire matters, and you probably almost guarantee you started your indie game or indie studio because you like games. You're going to want to work with people who are passionate like you. You can't afford someone who doesn't understand the medium. And the results are Halo, Hollow Knight, Stardew Valley, Celeste, Undertale, Slay the Spire, Balatro, and more and more. Games made by people who love games, people who understand the medium, people who play in their free time and think about what makes games work, are successful, are loved, and make an impact. Meanwhile, AAA studios churn out $400 million failures like Concord. The solution is simple. Hire people who play and love games for those creative positions. Not just have you shipped a AAA title, but can you talk intelligently about game design? Yeah, you also need to be technically proficient. Can't just hire someone off the street who has no idea what they're doing. But you need both. You really need both. Pocketpair's approach, Steam screenshots, discussing favorite games, analyzing mechanics, should be standard practice because the gaming industry, let's be honest, is at a crossroads in 2026. Unprecedented layoffs, studios closing, publishers just hemorrhaging money on failed live service games. The AAA model is unsustainable. 8-year cycles, ballooning budgets, games obsolete at launch, executives making spreadsheet decisions instead of player-focused ones. Meanwhile, indies thrive with smaller budgets, shorter timelines, and teams that understand games. Pocketpair, they're independent, making their own decisions, and as Bucky said, they have a luxury because they're 100% independent. That independence lets them hire based on what matters, understanding games. The Pocketpair's hiring practice is making headlines, which should be a wake-up call. When hiring people who play games to make games is revolutionary, we all know something's wrong. When every gamer can spot a failure from a mile away, but executives greenlight it anyway, the disconnect is obvious. And when indies with shoestring budgets can create more innovative experiences than a 9-figure studio, the system is broken. Gaming is a creative medium requiring understanding of player psychology, game feel, pacing, challenge curves, reward structures. You can only learn by playing these games. You can study theory, get a degree, but if you're not actively playing, analyzing, experimenting, staying current, you're missing the education that comes from being a gamer. Pocketpair asks designers to prove they play games. They want people who understand. They need employees who can discuss mechanics and bring a player's perspective. This shouldn't be revolutionary. It should be the bare minimum. But in an industry where suits who don't play games make creative decisions and executives prioritize quarterly earnings over players and chase trends instead of understanding audiences, Pocketpair's approach just stands out. Maybe that's what the industry needs. Every studio, every publisher, making playing games a requirement for making games. Hire passionate people, not just a paycheck. And value gaming culture. Understand it's more than just technical skills. Games are made for gamers. If the people making them aren't gamers, is it any wonder why so many miss the mark? Skills, talent, and drive matter, but they're not enough without the fundamental understanding from being an active participant in gaming culture. Pocketpair gets it. The question is, when will the rest of the industry catch up? Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and peace out.